welcome back to my channel. So I'm back in the kitchen today for another recipe video for y'all. So it was requested in my last recipe video that I make a crock pot or instant pot vegan recipe, so that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm making my creamy veggie chowdah. And yes, you gotta say it as they do in New England with the AH instead of the R. So it is a creamy vegetable chowdah that we're making today. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're gonna start with is 4 potatoes. And I've already peeled mine here. I've got 3 golden yellow potatoes and 1 russet potato. It doesn't really matter what type of potatoes that you use. I've done it where I've used all russet. I've done it where I've used all golden. I've done it where I've mixed them. So this recipe kind of changes just about every time I make it. So what you're gonna do with your potatoes is you're just going to cube them up, and you can make them however big or small you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just a rough chop that we're doing because after everything is cooked, we're gonna be blending this stuff up to make it that creamy texture. If you don't have an Instant Pot, this works really great in the crock pot. That's usually how I cook it most of the time. And you just wanna cook it on low until the potatoes are fork tender, which is about like 6-ish hours. So because the russet potato is a little bit bigger, what I did was just cut it in half first, so that I could put it in the rough chop from there. You always want to make sure that when you're cutting anything that you keep your knuckles back so that you don't cut your fingers. It's a tip that I've learned from all the years of watching the Food Network and cooking channel. To that, we're going to add 1 onion. So I just have a small onion here. And I already cut part of it off and peeled it. And so you want to leave the root end intact because I'm going to show you a little trick to make it easier to cut. So you cut it in half, and then what you do is you just make cuts along. And this will make it a lot easier for you to cut up your onion because, see, it just right up. We're not going to even saute this onion first. Like, it is straight up just going to be tossed in there raw because, like I said, we're going to be blending everything up anyway. So you could also use like the store-bought already sliced up onions or like the ones that you can get in the freezer section, but this is, you know, cheaper. I already had it on hand. This is kind of one of those throw it all together recipes. Next, we have 3 cloves of garlic. And you can also use the stuff that's in like the jar that's already cut up, but that usually has oil in it, and I try to limit the amount of oil and fats that I put in this. It makes me feel better when I eat it. But so what you'll do, I've got like 1 medium size and 2 small ones. Put however much garlic you like in there. I don't generally measure stuff when I'm cooking. I just kind of go by taste, which makes it a little bit difficult to give you all these recipes. But so you want to take your knife flat and then just press down on the garlic, and that makes it super easy to peel off the coating. If you've got a really stubborn one, just kind of hit down with the heel of your hand on that smooth side of your knife, so that way it can really get it in there to crush up. What I do is I always cut off like that part right there from the bulbs if it's or from the cloves if it's showing, and then you just kind of rough chop it. I usually just mince it until it's, you know, somewhat fine. I don't worry too much about what stuff looks like because I know in the end it's all gonna taste good, and I figure I'm a home cook. I don't need to worry about it looking all super fancy. Then I have some cauliflower florets. And what I did was I had a whole head of cauliflower. It was just a small head. And you know, the stem part is always difficult to get out. So what I do is I just kind of bang it against the counter a couple of times until stuff starts to break apart, and then you can cut it in half, and you can cut in like a triangle form to cut out the stem part. I'm only going to use half of the head of cauliflower today because my Instant Pot is not huge. If I was using my crock pot, because it's a lot larger, I probably would have used the whole thing. And if you don't like cauliflower, you can completely omit it. All right, so next we've got 4 carrots that I've peeled. The only reason I peeled them is because they're not organic, so because I know there's a lot of nutrients in the skin, but basically what I do is just cut the tops off, and then just cut a little bit of the end off, and then I just give it a rough chop. I'm not super concerned about the size or if it's uniform. Again, it's all going to be blended up, so you do you as far as how you want stuff to be chopped. Okay, and then I also have 4 stalks of celery that I've rinsed, and so again, I also just cut off the top and the white part because I don't feel like it gives that much flavor to the soup. And these are also not like the greatest celeries that I've bought before, but hey, that's life, right? Veggies are, you know, sometimes they look fabulous, sometimes they don't. And again, just another rough chopping. And then the last fresh ingredient is some red peppers. So I have a bunch of baby red bell peppers, but usually what I would do is just use 1 bell pepper and just, again, cut the tops off. I'm not so much concerned about the seeds in these because they're so small. So if you don't like bell peppers, or if you can't do them because like you have an allergy or whatever, you can certainly leave them out. I just think it adds to depth of flavor. I have a friend who bell peppers just give her a lot of stomach issues, so if I was making this for her, I would probably just leave them out. So this is what everything looks like in the pot. All right, so the last vegetable ingredient that goes in is 2 different types of corn. So I use the super sweet bicolor corn, and I just do, I don't know, about 3/4 of a cup to a cup, kind of just depending. Like I said, I don't generally measure how much I put in. I just kind of dump it in and go from there. And then the other kind is going to be this fire roasted corn. And again, it's the same amount, about 3/4 of a cup to a cup. I just eyeball it. So you can see I'm almost at the max for my Instant Pot. Next, I'm going to just do this Better Than Bouillon seasoned vegetable base. And this is part of the reason why I don't add salt or oil to this while I'm cooking, because this has got, it's such a high concentration of stuff that it's got plenty of salt and oil in it. So I just add, I don't know, about a teaspoon or 2. Just add that in, and I just add enough water until everything's filled, like covered. So it's usually about 4 cups of water, maybe a little bit more. So if I'd been smart, I would have had my water measured out before. So as you can see, that water wasn't enough to fill it, so I'm just filling up my glass measuring cup again with some more. And I do it just to cover, you know. So for me, that was about 8 cups of water this time around. And then I add, and again, I don't measure, so I think this is roughly about a teaspoon of this Perfect Pinch garlic and herb salt-free seasoning. And I just kind of sprinkle that in there on top, roughly about a teaspoon or two, kind of to taste. And then some smoked paprika, again, about a teaspoon or so. Again, it's all to taste. This gives it a really nice smoky flavor. And then the last thing is just some black pepper. And that's probably like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. And zhuzh it, that is a very technical term, zhuzhing. Zhuzh it all together so that, you know, not one particular thing is at the bottom. And so I just put the base into my Instant Pot. I'm gonna stick the lid on. And I have the Instant Pot Ultra. I don't have to like make sure something's set so that it's not steaming while it's cooking. So I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to go up to soup and broth, and I just hit okay. I'm gonna leave it on 30 minutes. This is my first time making it in the Instant Pot, so we'll start with 30 minutes. High pressure, no delay, keep warm, and just hit start. Like I said, if you were going to make this in your crock pot, I would just cook it on low for 4 to 6 hours or until the potatoes are fork tender. Hey y'all, so here's the soup after it has cooked. I just let it natural release the pressure for the Instant Pot, but you could definitely do the quick release if you wanted. And so from the looks of it, it looks like everything is fork tender, but let's try a potato. Oh yeah, that's definitely, in the cauliflower, we are good to go. You can certainly leave it chunky if you like, but I really like this as a super creamy soup. So what we're gonna do, I'm going to use my immersion blender on it. Turn that off. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can certainly just do this in batches in a regular blender. But yeah. You could blend half of it and leave the rest chunky, or you could blend it all the way up like I'm going to. And you can see as it blends up, it's starting to thicken. Here's what it looks like after it's all blended up. Mine is still a little bit thinner than I like, so I'm just gonna add a cornstarch slurry, which is just cornstarch and water. And I know it seems a little counterintuitive to add something with water to it when I'm trying to thicken it, but the cornstarch will expand and thicken stuff up. If you want to add like a richer flavor to this, you can certainly add some vegan butter. You can serve it like over rice or with crackers, with avocado on top, just kind of make it your own. And then I usually just right before I serve it, I put some salt and pepper on it. Let's go in for the taste test. And this is perfect in a bread bowl and on a cold night. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you make this soup recipe, please tag me on Instagram so I can see and let me know what you think of it. Don't forget to share this video with a friend and subscribe. Until next time, bye.